Good afternoon, everybody. On this Thursday, August 14th, 2025, I got all of your stories for your rush hour ride home. Well, it's the hangover day following Taylor Swift's record-breaking podcast debut. So we'll talk a little bit more about Taylor, and then we've got Blake Lively. More importantly, the actress who played Blake Lively's younger version of herself in It Ends With Us, is she evading receiving the subpoena to have her either deposed or share text messages? It's kind of getting interesting. So we'll share that and a little bit on Johnny Depp possibly making a return as Captain Jack Sparrow. And then Hunter Biden threatened with $1 billion lawsuit by the First Lady of the United States of America. What a wild time to be alive. Then J.D. Vance is booed as he tries to vacation with a 21-car entourage in UK. They ain't happy about it. They're not happy about it, folks. All right, all these stories and more, it all starts right now on The Rush. Let's dive into this one real quick. Jerry Bruckheimer says he's spoken to Johnny Depp about returning to Pirates of the Caribbean. Says, I think he would do it. Now, as you guys know, Johnny Depp was embroiled in a defamation lawsuit with his ex, Amber Heard. People will never change their mind on this story. They kind of stand where they do, but he essentially won that case. A jury found Amber Heard liable of defamation. I think that's how it went. Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't hate me, folks. It's been a few years. Either way, he said he would never do another Pirates of the Caribbean, but it is one of the most iconic characters in the history of cinema. Say what you will about Captain Jack Sparrow, the affable drunk pirate. So would he come back? It would shatter box office if they did that. Now, I think they had Keira Knightley, who tried to kind of be the new, a Pirates star, and it just didn't work. Listen, folks are only going to come out for one person when it comes to a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and that's Johnny Depp. We'll have to see if the script is good. In the end, you need a good script. So I think a good script gets him off his couch and into that world. But again, we'll have to see. Updates as they come. This is an interesting story, kind of sad. Brandon Blackstock just passed away. Who is that? Well, that was Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband. But we find this out at the obituary. The obituary for Brandon Blackstock revealed he was in a relationship with Kelly Clarkson's former assistant when he died. That's a little messy. Now, again, respectfully, how they got there, not too sure. Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband was in a relationship when he died of melanoma. She's a former assistant to Kelly. According to his obituary, Blackstock was living with Brittany Murray Jones in Montana, a loving partner who was with him until his untimely death. A source with knowledge confirms to TMZ Brittany was a production assistant for Kelly for 4 years. According to her LinkedIn, she was then Blackstock's executive assistant while he was the artist manager of Starstruck Entertainment. I mean, listen, that's kind of how it works. Very often you'll find somebody whose assistant or, some sort of confidant becomes their partner. Maybe he just, whether it was right or wrong, whatever avenue they took, I don't know, but still kind of interesting. Of course, Kelly Clarkson, they have kids, so when you have kids, it becomes a little bit more complicated, so she has to, deal with her kids mourning the loss of their father and all of that. She's canceled some concerts since his death. Either way, let's move it on. This is a sweet story. It's kind of sad whenever you see an adult man crying. We have a hard time dealing with that emotion. We do. We want men that are open with their emotions, but then when you see one cry, you kind of get taken aback. It's okay. That's just our own trauma from our parents not hugging us enough growing up. But this is adorable. And he's barely an adult, right? Nebraska punter Archie Wilson tears up during family question at press conference. So he's, I guess, from Australia. He's got a good foot, so he becomes a punter for Nebraska. First time away from home. It's adorable. Have a listen.
Oh, I turn 19 tomorrow. So I'm 18 right now.
So what's it like being first time you're away from them?
Yeah, that part's hard. I'm sorry.
It's so sweet. He's homesick. That's all. Aren't we? We're all allowed to be homesick once in a while. Put on a brave face.
Yeah, I love it a lot.
He's probably broke down emotionally. He's doing double sessions. It's hot outside, but he wants his family. You see this so often where you see someone who looks like they got their shit together, or, an adult, but they're brought back to those childhood emotions, right? You just want a hug from your mom.
yeah, I got 2 little brothers and a mum and dad, and yeah, that's the tough part about being here. I love them a lot and I miss them, but it's I mean, they know this is what's best for me, and it's good. I can still talk to them plenty over the phone, and they're coming here to see the first few games, so I'm looking forward to that.
All right, you'll see him soon. They'll send you some Vegemite. But I tell you what, this guy right here, he just became my favorite college football player. Wishing you luck, my guy. Dave Portnoy comments on Taylor Swift. He's a big Swiftie. Here's what he had to say after her podcast with the Kelsey brothers.
All right, I got to apologize to the Swifties. It's 6:30 a.m. Listen, I've been traveling. I'm in the Ozarks. Yeah, the TV show, Lakes, beautiful. Woke up at 4 a.m., caught up on the New Heights podcast with Taylor. First of all, shout out Taylor. She looks like she's in a beautiful spot. I think they're going to get married. Very happy for mother. Now, let's talk about what I'm happy for me for and for the Swifties. October 3rd, Life of a Showgirl. I listened to her talk about this album. It's almost like she wrote me another handwritten letter. Like, hey, Dave, this is going to be a combo between 1989 and folklore. Puppy songs. I like puppy songs. Everybody knows that. I like them. I like puppy songs. I like kind of cheesy stories, love stories, fast beat, upbeat songs that you're whistling in your head, can't get out of your head, that play a million times on the radio. Yes, that's my type of music. So this, when she's like, I'm in a great spot in my life, they're all upbeat, they're happy, they're all going to be like #1 monster hits. There's 12 songs, they're perfect, it's a puzzle, they fit together. That to me, and I know it's a big statement, I think this is going to be my favorite album of all time.
Wow, favorite album of all time? He then goes on to say he thinks every single song will be a #1 hit. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But again, the cultural news of the day, of the week, maybe of the month, is Taylor Swift revealing her new album. And listen, if anyone out there is an artist, we all know how hard it is to do creative work. The resistance, it's like trying to run through quicksand. It is so hard. You see people like Billy Joel, he releases a good album, 30 years later, he hasn't written another song. It is so hard to continue to evolve or do anything creatively because we resist the things that we love. And if you love your art, you want it to be perfect. So we resist having the time and the energy to make it perfect. And I just have to tell people, there's a thing called The Atomic Habits, and it's a book about overcoming that resistance. And sometimes you just have to sit down, open up a notepad, and get to it. Whatever it is you need to do. Think of it like you are a spider trying to create a web. The spider doesn't know how beautiful the web will be. The spider just starts spewing its string. That's what you have to do. And Taylor Swift has done that for 12 albums now since she was in her teens. And I know she's got all the resources in the world and she doesn't have all these other jobs she needs to do. But what was interesting is on the European leg of her tour, as she's performing in front of these stadiums, she's performing 3 days in a row, then has 3 days off. On those off days, she's flying to Switzerland or wherever the hell she's recording this and recording the new album. It's just insane how creative she is. And for the folks that say, well, yeah, but her voice isn't, it's like, find me a modern pop star that writes their own music. Most have 20 writers on it and this and that. And look, I get it. She's got a team. She works with people, whatever. But it's just wild to see that as someone has literally achieved every milestone in the world, they still have that inner drive to continue to create. It's a beautiful thing. All right, coming up next, we've got John Cena describing how broken his body is on his final year of being a professional wrestler. Well, here it is. He said his body's screaming at him. He's 48 years old. I can relate. I can barely tie my shoes someday. Literally, I turned 40 and hurt my shoulder that day. I tried to take my shirt off, and I think I tore something in my shoulder. I get you. Once you get into your 40s, your body is just preparing itself for death at this point.
No, my body is screaming at me to close the chapter.
It is, right?
Yeah, I know I looked a little younger than I am, but I'm 48, man. I'll be 49 next year.
Now, to be quite fair, he doesn't look a day younger than 48. Now, I just took my health test at Function Health, and my biological age came in at 29. So say what you want about me, but I've been putting a lot of vitamin E on my face.
I'm grateful, very grateful to say that WWE has given me almost 25 years to go out and do my thing and be invisible, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
But I also remember when I was a young kid back in 2002, thinking I'd never get a chance. And then when I did, I came up with like a young, hungry class. And I think if I hang around any longer than now, I'm just taking time away from those young guys who could be the next chance to make an impact. The WWE moves.
That's his way of saying, I've got a lot of money and I don't need to get in my underwear and body slam myself on a hard mat. So yeah, listen, I've been really big into wrestling. If you don't watch it, they've been doing this new show on Netflix, the behind the scenes of the wrestling. Yes, it's fake in the sense of they sort of script the outcome, but the athleticism and what they do with their bodies, that's all real, you know? So it's very interesting to watch. Speaking of watching, if you want to watch me perform stand-up comedy, we've had a ton of people join our email list. I'm still trying to get into shows. The best way to get me to do stand-up in your town is right to your local comedy club. I mean this. If you live in Omaha, I'm ready to fly there. Boise, St. Louis, whatever. If you live in a relatively major market that has a comedy club, write to them, request me, let me know. I'll follow up with them and say, I got some fans that want to see me perform. The best you can do is go to rushhourwithdave.com, click on my website, and if you scroll to the bottom, it'll literally pop up exactly where you can sign up for my newsletter, and I'll let you know when I'm in your town. I get to do the local media, go on the stupid radio shows, and you can see the clips for all of these. This was 2 years ago when I was in Seattle, featuring some of our finest. I literally printed out images of people in our community, some of our all-stars here. You can shout them out. Bruce, you can see there, and some of the ladies. And if you want to see what this clip is all about, I've got this and more on my website, rushhourwithdave.com. All right, well, let's dive into the Blake Lively stuff. I know there's a lot going on. Every day's not an all-star day where we have bombshell news, but this is interesting. So much so, I think I have to get my X-Files music out for this one, because this is we have a missing actress. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, where in the world is Isabelle Ferrer? Is it Ferrer? Who the hell knows? Wild Ryan Reynolds and Brian Friedman connections with attorney of Isabelle Ferrer, who won't accept service. Breaking news, Sanford Michelman has asserted that Isabella is his client and is now refusing to accept service from Brian Friedman's legal team. Well, there are a lot of crazy connections here. Michelman represented Michael Kasson in his defamation lawsuit against Brian Friedman, Justin's attorney, and that's not the only connection. So wild stuff going on. I mean, look, they all know each other. This is from Same Girl, Different Time, I believe her TikTok account or Instagram. So yes, Isabelle, nowhere to be seen. Listen, we're going to need Dog the Bounty Hunter to make an appearance to find Isabelle. Why is she important? Well, there were fake HR complaints that were floated about her saying Justin Baldoni was a creep. We really want to know, and by the way, it might be more interesting than you think. We really want to know what Blake Lively might have said to Isabelle in order to convince Isabelle that Justin Baldoni's a creep. I don't have anything personal that I know, but if Blake Lively is privately trying to get all of these actors to turn their back on Justin Baldoni, given that we know Isabelle actually liked Justin Baldoni, what did Blake tell her? Because if Blake is telling her things that were patently not true, that aren't part of this claim, but was using it to have a smear against Baldoni, then we got a whole nother story on our hands. And the days that go by where they're not able to find Isabelle, that gets sketchy as hell. And look, if you're Isabelle, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, because you've probably been promised a lot by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And in the end, you don't want to turn your back on them. So if I'm Isabelle, this is what you do. You spend a week evading the process, the servers who are trying to find you. And then finally they catch you at a casting and oops, I guess I have to speak in a deposition, and you're not going to lie under oath. Show us the text messages. So here's a little girl attorney explaining what might be going on with the missing Isabelle Ferrer.
Evading service in the Lively Wayfair case. Well, we don't know. I can tell you what we do know. The Wayfair parties have requested from the court to serve Isabelle Ferrer, the young actress who played young Lily in the It Ends With Us movie. They've requested from the court to serve her by alternative means. In order to receive discovery from non-parties, a party has to serve a subpoena on that non-party. And typically that's done through process server to a non-party's known address or discovered address. However, in situations like this, where an attorney pops up and says, I represent this non-party, then you wouldn't try to serve the deponent or the witness by process server unless you don't receive a response from counsel.
Yeah, so this happened to me when I was getting served by Laura Owens when she was trying to silence me for exposing her fraudulent pregnancy. Again, how did that work out for her? It led to her getting charged with 7 felonies in the Arizona courts, and I will be a star witness in that trial come January 2026. See you in Scottsdale. But either way, I digress from that story. But yeah, if you know who the person's attorney is, you just send them you digitally send them the notice of service. It's not a big deal. So the fact that they're stalling this in any way could be more interesting. It could be the thing that sings Blake Lively if Isabelle is holding on to some information that's going to make Blake look bad. I mean, listen, if you see if you see Isabella starring in the next Deadpool movie, you know she's got some blackmail on Blake. What a wild time to be alive. All right, coming up next, speaking of process server, we've got a Hunter Biden story. He's been doing these interviews with Andrew Callahan, who's a YouTuber, which has been massively interesting. I'm talking massively interesting. Hearing what Hunter Biden has to say about the world we live in. Trust me, he's obviously addicted to many things, alcohol, crack cocaine, but he's been sober for a good handful of years now, I think 5 or 6 years. And he actually shared some information that led Andrew Callahan to receive a cease and desist to take the video down by Melania Trump, saying they're going to sue his ass for $1 billion. We got this story next.